Greetings, readers! This is the fourth time I am shooting this video because my camera kept deleting the information, so this might not go up at all because I'm not doing this a fifth time. I don't have time. I could make the time. I just really don't want to. So let's hope this works. Also, since I've shot this so many times, I am kind of over feeling weird about doing it in public. Well, mostly over. There's nobody around here at this point, but plenty of people saw me set up my stage, and I think I'm fine. Anyway, let's get into this because I'm ready. First things first, this is going to be an afterword regarding the story Afterstarter.
The story's called Firestarter.
If you haven't seen it yet, I'll put it up in the card here, or down there in the down dare square. Pick or choose. Might be on this side. I'm gonna start with the tidbits because I can, because this is my party and I can cry if I want to, and trust me, I have been crying because this has taken far too much of my time. So I wrote this story in a day. It's interesting actually that it took me not very long. Is that a cowboy hat? It was not. It was a flat rock sitting on a square sheet of metal with a string tied to the end of it. If I remember, I will show you a picture of it. Okay, sorry, what was I doing? This. I wrote this story in a day. I know this is gonna sound pretty old as it's an excuse I use a lot of times, but I didn't have any stories that I could readily shoot a video for, but I did have sparklers that I stole from my aunt on the 4th of July. So I just said to myself, hey, you know what you could do? Write a story about fire. So that's what I attempted to do. I will say it took a long time to actually get the story going because I wanted to write something kind of light and cheeky. You're gonna hear me say that word a lot. But everything that I kept writing was like too dour, and I didn't want to write something like that because I felt like the last few of mine had kind of had a darker tone. And I don't know if that's actually true, but I felt like it was, so I was trying to go for something light. But I couldn't really get it to go, but I was walking from a coffee shop to my office, and I walked into a spider web and freaked out, and then waited until a biker came by and ran through it, so he tore the rest of the thing down so I could walk through it. It was a symbiotic relationship. Anyway, once I had that in my brain, I said, I'm gonna use that. And so I did. And the story came together pretty quickly. After I had the visual of that, the narrative voice flowed. The narrative voice flowed pretty quickly, and I found that excellent. Mostly. I found it really excellent because I was like, oh, this is nice. But somewhere in the first instance, I thought, oh, well, if this is just the first time it happened, obviously it's happened more times. And obviously this narrator is narrating from a point in the future by saying this is the first time. So there's probably other things that are going to follow, which means I can make a series out of this. But the narrative force was too strong and it wouldn't stop. So instead of having one pulled out moment, you got several. Now, as quickly as the story came, putting the video together was a lot less intuitive. I was just having a really hard time with it. It was annoying. It was bad. I got all the shots I needed with me reading. I got the shots that I needed with me fire dancing, which let's not call it that because that's not what it was. Sparkler twirling, barely. And I had all the audio and it should have gone together, but editing was a child with chicken pox and lice. Like I didn't even know what to do. Everything was wrong and I couldn't make it meld together. I wanted the tone to remain light and cheeky. Even when I got all the pieces together, finding music that didn't make it seem like dramatic and bad was so difficult. I need to stop touching my face after I've touched things that are out here. What is that? We're not gonna think about it. Thinking about it. It was difficult to find music. All that being said, I'm actually pretty impressed with how the video came out. Personally, I was surprised by how much I actually liked it. Considering like what a hassle it was to, because maybe I didn't say this, I wrote it in a day I shot all the parts in a day, I did the audio in a day, and I got all that together, and then the next day I edited it. And considering throughout most of the process I was just kind of feeling like, why do I do this to myself? I think it came together pretty, well, not seamless, but pretty nicely in a way that I appreciated it and I liked. So thumbs up for that. Thumbs up? Fingers up for that. No, hands up for that. Jazz hands for that. I think that was all the things that I wanted to say about it, actually. I did get some help from one of my friends, Carlos. He helped me edit the story, which I needed because I wrote it so quickly that I wasn't sure if it was good or not. And he definitely said that it was tonally dissident in some places, but I felt like how I read it made it better. I don't know. Maybe it didn't. I think that's a good segue into. Okay, so like I said, I actually really enjoyed how this video came out, surprisingly. So I personally don't have a lot of like critiques about it. I think my personal biggest issues with it were the audio quality because as you could tell when I was recording the audio, I was laying down, but I was sitting up and doing a lot of different positions. And so that changed how I sounded because my mouth was away from the mic. But other than that, I didn't really have a lot of issues with it. I mean, I wish I would have been able to find someone else to twirl around with fire in their hand, but you know, when you write something and shoot everything you need within the same 5-hour span, you get what you get. But yeah, so I don't necessarily have a lot of critiques for myself in this, so I asked other people to watch it and give me their thoughts. That being said, me asking for critique from you does not negate me wanting you to comment. And I have some favorite critics, some not so favorite critics. My sister told me it looked tacky when you could see the book that I was reading from and it's like cut out pages, but I like it. I like it, so I'm keeping it. I'm fine with it. My favorite critic, my husband, and he actually is one of my favorite critics because our likes are so different when it comes to the media we consume and the stories we consume and how we consume them, that I find it really helpful to see from his point of view what works and what doesn't work. I don't always agree, but sometimes, you know, it's good to hear a voice that's different than mine. And he said the music was jarring for him, that it didn't fit, which, hey, if you agree with that, let me know. I felt like it fit because, again, I was trying to go for a kind of a cheeky vibe where it was not necessarily doom and gloom, like, oh, I'm fire and bad things are happening. I wanted it to be like the 5th time I was in a public restroom, which I personally think is funny. And if I were to write that time out, were there people in there with them? How do you hide that? Did the fire alarm go off? Where in public? Was it at a restaurant? A Starbucks? A doctor's office? Were you giving a urine sample? These are questions. I wanted the tone to remain light, so I felt like the music worked because it had a strand of just kind of like, I don't know, contemplative. Why do I try words when no one is here to correct me? Contemplative thinking. Had a thinker tone. I'm sorry. Can we get the correct pronunciation of contemplative?
Contemplative.
Thanks. It had a good balance of
Contemplative.
and playfulness, I feel like. And that worked for me, did not work for him. I don't know who else it didn't work for, if it like threw you out of the moment because it changed up so much. I do kind of want to know, but hey, if you don't comment, you don't comment. That's fine. Another thing that he said was jarring for him was the insert of pop culture references. And I get it. I get that, but I think that more than anything else it's a personal preference, because I think about how we read literature or we watch shows or something that will reference freaking Sir Conan Doyle or Mary Shelley. And I get that those things are from a different period and we can say, oh yeah, but they're not contemporary. But the things that I said are like 10 years old. Fact check. Yeah, they're both like 10 years old, 10 plus years old. I don't see a problem with entering them because I think the character, the narrator here, is a person who would think that. And I felt like it fit pretty well. No, I felt like it fit very well considering that this is the time period that the narrator lives in, and this is what they would think if they looked up to a scorched ceiling. And if you haven't seen Supernatural, it's in the first few minutes. There's a person. You too. That was fine. That was cool. That was fine. What was I saying? Oh, if you haven't seen Supernatural, it's in the first 3 minutes of the first episode of the first season. So, if you haven't seen Avatar, The Last Airbender, do that, watch it. Do you not like cartoons? It's okay, you'll like this cartoon, I promise. If not, if you see me in real life, I will give you half a Kit Kat. Not like half of a whole Kit Kat. Like, I'll break a bar off and give you half of that bar of a Kit Kat. If I have a Kit Kat on me. But the point is, I think that it works. But I also know that some people would be bothered by it. But if you're writing about a contemporary person, I know that like it can date your work, but I'm okay with this being dated. Also, I feel like these things should be in the collective zeitgeist of everyone all the time for the rest of eternity. That is a husk of a praying mantis. I gotta get out of here. They eat things' heads. I got the head. Oh my gosh. I definitely got questions via text and phone call, so thank you. You will not be getting a Christmas gift because I can't afford it and because I'm gonna, let my yes be yes and my no be no. So, sorry, but also thank you. But some of the questions that I did get were pretty interesting. I wish you had commented it because some of the questions were like, why were their hands catching on fire? Why did the water make it worse? Is this a guy or a girl? Questions. I'm only gonna answer one of them because I was surprised that somebody asked me it because I have a reason for it. I have a reason for I haven't answered all these questions, but specifically, why did the water make it worse? Because oil fires are worse if you throw water on them and your hands are oily. So obviously it's an oil fire. That was a literal thought process as I was writing this, and I thought, oh, okay. I hope this character learned that. It's not on the page. That's it, that's all I have. I'm hearing sounds and people are definitely coming now, and I know I said earlier that I'm over feeling bad about this, but guess what, I'm not, so I'm gonna end this here. Like, comment, subscribe. I can never say that right, so I'm now changing that to Lychee Comics Scribble. Do what you wanna do. I hope to see you again soon. I have to get out of here. There are just like things everywhere, and that one's gone. Okay, it's time. Thanks for sitting here. Hopefully this one actually goes up. Hopeful, a regular nobody. Can you see it? That thing over there? Looks like a hat? Is it just me? I was sitting at this angle. That looks like a hat, right? Looks like a hat? I think it looks like a hat, but it's just a rock. It's a rock, sitting on a thing. There are people, I gotta go.